All right, well, I want to just thank everybody again for letting me come out here and evaluate these hogs today. As we get started, you know, this class here, to me, is a real special class. This is your bred and owned. These young individuals have done a fantastic job of starting a breeding project and raising animals that they can get to market. And having said that, I think there's two individuals out here that are both fairly high quality in their own right. You know, there's some definite differences in their pieces and how they're put together, and neither one of them ideal as far as how they're carrying themselves across the ring. However, that being said, I think, you know, they sort themselves for me pretty easy. Two outstanding individuals, but we're going to start with the barrow, with the young lady in the blue here. To me, just a barrow that just comes at you with some serious mass when he walks at you. He's really pulled apart in his front end. Great rib shape, great body dimension. Yes, you could clean him up through his throat, and you might want to change his rear hock just a little bit. He tends to want to bow just a little bit on that. But for me, a hog that's just ideal in his condition, super big in his body, a big old monster top in him as he walks towards and away from you. Just a hog that I really appreciate for the overall mass he brings to you. Following him up with your reserve champion, another very nice individual. This gilt for me, just not near as comfortable getting around the ring, and part of that seems to be something that maybe water got in her ear or something like that, but she just doesn't want to get out and travel. As she walks at you, you'll see her knees kind of want to turn in, and she kind of gets to where she's just a little bit off on her front end when she walks at you. Super big old greasy groove down her top. I love that about her. For me, a hog that probably is a little bit plain and not near as fresh in her rib shape. And for that, she's going to sit second. But two really nice pigs to start your hog classes.
So congratulations, Kylie Boynton, for your bred and owned. Those are sponsored by JCLA banners there. And your second place, Chevelle, as well. So congratulations, ladies. Okay, moving into our first lightweight market class. To the ring, we need Haley Carroll, Tristan Turner, Matthew Tishner, Brianne Ellis, and Gracie Mendoza to the ring, please. On deck, Cole Gasner, Gage Silbernagel, Tristan Otter, Riley Matney, and Skylar Cooper.
Come on, buddy, go. Come on, buddy.
So this will be interesting because there's a camera right here. So when you do go in, it's okay to go all the way to that post and stand right in front of that post. Because they'll be handing you ribbons for 4-H. I'll be handing you ribbons for FFA.
How are we going to remember all the...
I would suggest just standing there and he'll be giving them to you as he goes.
Oh, so we could just hand it out.
Exactly.
So it's just one at a time, or can we just both hand it together?
Just make sure, the hard thing is blocking people and not walking that corner.
So once he starts, we go to that post, or once he starts talking,
His first post.
do we go in the ring?
Yeah. And then we'll play it by ear. We'll figure it out by the quality ribbon and a posting ribbon. And X4H only gives one, just quality, which is mostly blue and red. So don't be weirded out if I give you two. It's quality and then what place you are in.
Oh. So just hand the ribbon and then tell us the color.
I'll just give you the color. No, they will say on it.
No, like the color on that. Like, okay, this goes to the blue.
Or we'll tell you the on number.
Okay. I know.
We'll figure it out as we go.
All right, a really nice class here to start our market hog division. You know, we're going to see quite a few lightweight hogs this year, and so we're going to have to do some give and take type stuff as we go through these. But you know, for me, it's just comes down to some of the things that I absolutely have to stick to my guns on. And number one is going to just be the comfort in which they get around the ring. And so as we sort these three that I left out here, that's really what's going to divide them for me. Probably gonna start down here, the third hole with the young man's kind of calico spotted up thing here. Really massive pig, just a giant top and rear end in this pig. And for me, a hog that actually handles those back legs just fine. But when we study this hog as he comes at you, very uncomfortable in that stride as he comes at you. That shoulder blade is just not tucked in there quite right. He's a little bit straight in that shoulder blade, which kind of throws everything else off as he strides at you. So for soundness reasons, he's going to sit in that hole. Very nice market hog. Lots of power, lots of shape in that one, but he's going to be third in this. Then for me, it gets real close. Then now you have some real give and takes here. Two Hampshire appearing barrows that are really completely different in their types and kinds. You got one with the young lady over here that's just another kind of follows up with this hog. Big old back, big hipped individual, maybe not quite as comfortable around the ring, and for that reason, he's going to sit second. We're going to start the class with this young lady's hog here. I will tell you that the barrow that's going to start this class, if you're not right on top of these hogs, probably looks a little plain to you, a little bit dry. But for me, he's the most comfortable as he gets around the ring. He's the soundest, and there is plenty of top and hip shape in this hog. I really like how he handles that hind leg and gets away from you. And when she gets his head up and gets him walking across here, you'll see he's probably the cleanest and neatest throated one in this class. So he's going to start the class. We're going to follow with this Hampshire barrow. And we're going to then go third here. As we bring the other two out of the pens, hogs that for today's industry are probably just a little bit long in their type and kind. They're a little bit longer in their spine. We're trying to moderate these hogs, and these are hogs that questionably for me, are they going to be fat enough at 230 pounds? These are hogs that I'd like to have on feed for another 30, 45 days and see where they really finish out. But really nice class of hogs to start to the day.
All right, congratulations to Haley Carroll and Brianna Ellis. Be ready to come back for the champion drive for the lightweights. Your next class coming in, we get these ones out. So class number 2 to the ring, Cole Gasner, Gage Silbernagel, Trustin Otter, Riley Matney, and Skylar Cooper. He's trying. Class 2 on deck, Jaden Unruh, Michaela Taylor, Noelle Navarro, Jocelyn Cuisian, and Katie Putty. Be on deck.
That works good.
So this time, we're going to change it up. When he says the first place person, we're going to go do it right away. And I'll be handing too. Because that's too confusing at the end.
All right, another really nice class here, but one that definitely brought its struggles for me to sort. We've got two barrows out here that obviously are similar in their type and kind. Neither one of them for me are perfect in their structure. In fact, not even close. But that being said, they're absolute monsters when it comes to back shape and hip shape and that sort of thing. For me, it really comes down to this gilt up here. She either wins this class and does it easily, and for me, she's going to. She's just a gilt that you absolutely love how she gets around the ring. You love the front end extension. You love how she's put together. Granted, she may not be the biggest top. In fact, she is not the biggest top. She's not the heaviest muscle pig in the class. But this is what we need to strive for. We can take that pig and we can build on that. That's the base and the structure that we're looking for. So we're going to start the class with the young man's gilt. We're going to follow it up with the black belted barrow. And we're going to go third right here with the white barrow. And you can split those two barrows however you want. To me, the white barrow just gets a little more uncoordinated on both his front and rear legs. A hog that when he came out, I sure did like everything he brought as far as big back shape, big hip. Really liked how he just came out, and the young lady got him drove really well. But the more you study that hog, he is extremely short-strided and gets pretty narrow base width when he walks at you. And for me, a hog that really needs to be bigger boned as well for a hog that's that powerful up top. But three really nice individuals to go 1, 2, and 3. As we get down here a little further, two nice hogs in their own right. They just ran into some power above them, but really nice hogs all the way through.
All right, so congratulations to Cole Gasner and Trustin Otter. They will both come back for your lightweight drive, so please be ready for that. Moving into Class 3, Jaden Unruh, Michaela Taylor, Noelle Navarro, Jocelyn Quisian, and Katie Putty to the ring, please. Class 4 on deck, Veronica Terrasis, Ava Fredericks, Michael Poland, Brody Piercy, and Janelle Pineda. Please be ready.
All right, an extremely challenging class to sort here. For one, the hog here that I really liked when she first came in the ring, but it's been really hard to get a good look at as you get a better idea of what they are out here. It's really hard to really analyze how she gets around the ring. But you know, three really high quality individuals out here, all with some give and take. I think you could land on any one of these three, and you could probably convince most people that that's the direction you want to go. For me, I go with my gut, and a lot of times, you know, I tell people that if my gut's wrong, that's a lot of wrong because I have a fair amount of gut. But when I see one and I kind of tie into them, it's tough to convince me that I'm wrong. And I think there's one individual out here that when we talk about what we're trying to do to these pigs today, what we're trying to do as far as making them bigger in their body, making them bigger in their center forerib, and really making pigs that can get around the ring and sound. And you'll notice hogs that want to walk, they'll walk with their head up. So that's because their structure's right and they're comfortable in their skeleton. And for me, that's going to be this barrow to win the class of the young man with the white shirt. You know, maybe not as presented, you know, as tightly clipped and that sort of thing, but a hog that when you watch him travel around this ring, he walks with the most comfort in his skeleton. He is easily the widest based hog from front to rear when you study him at the ground. Sure, he gives up a little bit of expression and muscle over his top, but I think some of that probably is the clip job. I think when you stand right over the top of him, he's every bit as massive, every bit as big hip, and just for me, a hog that kind of separates himself to the top pretty easily in this class. From there, it gets really tough to separate these two gilts. I think everybody would consider them similar in their type and kind. For me, you've got one here with the big belted hog that's probably a little bit bigger in her bone. Maybe gives up a little bit of comfort in that skeleton, but a hog that, you know, when you study him from that front 1/3 A hog that's probably got a little more extension, a little more correct in how she's built there, but a really, really nice pair of gilts. We're going to go ahead and use the young lady's gilt here to be second, and the more predominantly black gilt to be third. Really like all three of these individuals. That predominant black gilt for me just gets a little bit short in the front, a little bit straight in that front shoulder. As she's walking, she gets a little bit just punched up there, but for me, a really nice class with three high-end individuals. As we get down to these next two pigs, just pigs that for me just don't have enough shape. They're not built quite right, but really nice market hogs in their own right, and a really nice set to have in class 3.
All right, congratulations to Noel Navarro and Jaden Unruh. Please both be ready for the lightweight drive coming back into the ring. Okay, we are moving into class number 4.
Yeah, a class that for me, the water probably gets a little deeper here, but it also becomes easier for me to sort. I just think, again, there's a barrow in here, the young lady's hamp barrow, that for me wins it pretty well walking away with this deal. I mean, that is a big hip, big-ended individual that when she gets him up, his head up and lets him move across here, you can see he wants to run and play. Typically, the ones that aren't built right won't want to do that. When they're uncomfortable to walk, they're uncomfortable to run. So when one can get out here and run, I guarantee his skeleton's pretty correct. But a hog for me that really puts a lot of good parts together. I would change his back leg structure just slightly, but a hog that when you really study for what he brings to the table for this class, just super clean in how he's put together. I really like that hip and power through that hip and the structure in which he gets about. Again, you could change that back hock just a little bit, but a really nice pig to win. We're going to follow him up with the young man's blue-butted hog here. And for me, a hog that, when you talk about comfort of structure, I mean, he's had this hog out here, right here in the center of the ring the whole time she moves out. Really nice gilt for that reason. A hog that for me, when you compare to your class winner, just gives up some overall mass and muscle and power, and maybe not quite as attractive through her front end. But a hog, when we talk about comfort of structure, easily fits in that second hole for me, and a really nice hog that maybe just getting a little bit extra condition in her jowl. We could feed some of that out of her just to kind of clean that up and make her look a little better and maybe move her up in the class. But ran into a really power horse hog to win the class. In third, we've got another just absolute monster-backed, big-ended individual, and we'll be seeing a lot of those that, to me, just get a little bit short in their stride, a little bit uncomfortable in their structure, and just don't move about the ring like we want them to. And you'll see a lot of those sitting in that 3-4 hole for me today, because that's just going to be the thing that's going to, when a hog's got enough mass and enough power, that's going to have to be what we sort them by. And this is a hog here that, to me, just isn't put together quite right, but has all that meat and product we're looking for in a market hog. As we move down the line, we get into a hog, actually the black-headed gilt that when she first came out, I liked her an awful lot. And then the more you study her, she's pretty far past what I would call fresh down her top. She's starting to look a little bit stale in her top. A hog that probably could have used a little more groceries going into this deal and would have moved up. You talk about one that's comfortable in her structure, comfortable in her stride, but a hog that, to me, is just getting a little bit stale in her top line, and we need to freshen her up there. And then the young lady's hog on the other end just gives up power and muscle to get any higher.
All right, so congratulations to Ava Fredericks and Michael Pullen. Please, both of you, be ready to come back for the lightweight drive.
What a pro.
All right, so we are moving into Class 5 of our lightweights. To the ring, we need Emma Shirk, Evan Silbernagel, Kenzo Monroe, Joel Quisian, and Hattie Keegan to the ring, please. Class 6 on deck, Chevelle Boynton, Anthony Hood, Eli Boyle, Adam Fredericks, and Diego Mendoza.
All right, as we evaluate this class, there's definitely a little bit more of a challenge for me as far as finding one to really tie into. We got some parts and some pieces in all these pigs out there left out here that you can kind of think about and use. I'm going to go ahead and start the class with the young lady with the Duroc gilt. I think that's really a pretty exceptional Duroc gilt. I think the way she's put together, I really appreciate. I like the extension that hog has. I think when you evaluate her for how she gets around this ring, I think you really have to like her length of stride and the width at which she comes and goes. If you were to change that hog, sure, she's a Duroc. It's tough to really read how much mass they have until you get one of them great big back ones. So to me, you have to get really on top of her to really see that, you know, there is enough product there. There is enough mass and a hog that for me, you know, when you study her as far as her total makeup, I think she's going to be the most complete hog and the one that's going to go ahead and win this class for me. From there, second place goes the young man with the blue belted hog, or blue butted hog, I'm sorry. You know, really nice barrow, super comfortable in his stride, gets around the ring really nice, but a hog that for me just needs pulled apart, needs more mass and shape, maybe a little more robust rib cage, but a hog that fits second pretty easily, just simply how he gets around the ring and puts the most next best pieces together. We're going to follow that up, obviously, with the young lady over here. That gilt, kind of the same mold as the second place hog. I just like to pull them apart, make them more massive. I think what separates the two is when you get in behind them and study them, she tends to get a little bit narrow as she walks away. A hog that you'd really like to see a little more base width on, but you know, a nice hog in her own right. As we get down here a little bit further, just hogs that, for me, just need to have more robust rib cage. They need to have more body and shape. We're getting to a size of hog here that is typical for the industry to start calling them finished market hogs. So hogs that just need to have a little more natural capacity to move up.
All right, so congratulations to Emma Shirk and Kenzo Monroe. You two please be ready to come back for the lightweight drive. Moving into class number 6.
All right, again, a class that for me actually sorts maybe a little bit easier. There's one trouble pig in here we'll talk about in a minute, but for me the class winner's pretty obvious. This is probably one of the easiest class winners we've had of the day. It's going to be the young lady here with the hog that we saw earlier in the bred and fed, or the bred and owned. Just a really, really nice gilt. We talked about her a bit in that deal. Yes, we can make her a little more comfortable in her stride and make her a little bit better there. But, a hog that, when we talk about the amount of product this hog has in this class compared to its contemporaries, she's the biggest back, biggest ended hog that's still sound enough. You can change those rear legs, I'll admit that. But for me, a hog that wins this class and does so pretty easily. Second place becomes really tough for me. We've got two completely different hogs, and I'm going to land on the one that I think probably is the most correct for today's industry, and that's going to be the young man's barrel right here. For me, the difference becomes a hog that maybe is a little too moderate for today's industry, but man, does he have a lot of product. When you look at the top and the hip and hind leg in this hog, that there's some product there. You have to like how wide-based he is. Sure, we'd like to change him just a little bit as far as structure goes and make him a little bit sounder as he moves about this ring. But for me, just kind of a logical place to land in second when it just comes to market quality and carcass quality, a hog that fits there pretty well. The hog in third is a real trouble hog for me. This is, we had a meeting earlier today and somebody asked, what you're looking for. And, when I talked about body and rib and the ability to feed, I think this is a prime example. To me, this looks like a hog that's extremely old for her weight. A hog that probably just didn't eat as well as they'd like her to. I think if this hog was, as much as 60 pounds heavier, and I think her frame would hold that, I think she'd be really, really nice. I mean, a hog that when we talk about how they get around the ring, really, really good. When we talk about bone and foot size, really, really good. But a hog for me that is just entirely too flat and hard in her center rib, a hog that just needs to be fed and pushed harder, and a hog that probably just can't do that because of her body capacity. So she's going to land in third. As we get to fourth and fifth, hogs that just kind of ran into hogs that had more power and more balance than the ones above them, but nice hogs in their own right.
All right, congratulations to Chevelle Boynton and Adam Fredericks. Please be ready to return to the ring for the champion drive. Moving into Class 7 of our lightweights. To the ring we need Jordan Piercy, Teal Nelson, Caden Tolman, Braden Macy, and Marley Similink to the ring. Those in the champion drive for the lightweights: Haley Carroll, Brianna Ellis, Cole Gasner, Tristan Otter, Jaden Unruh, Noel Navarro, Ava Fredericks, Michael Poland, Emma Shriek, Kinzo Monroe, Chevelle Boynton, and Adam Fredericks. Please all be ready to return to the ring.
Okay, another really nice class of lightweight hogs. I think this is the last class in our division. And for me, a hog that I tied into immediately when she came in the ring, a hog that I actually asked the young lady to go ahead and shut her down for a bit, because the easiest decision in this entire class was for me to start with this gilt on the rail here. And probably one of the easiest decisions for me so far the entire day. I mean, this is probably the first one that I don't have to give up anything to find my class winner. This is probably the first hog that I can say, she's really what I'm looking for, and then on top of that, she actually looks like a show hog. I mean, in a couple of these, I've had to admit that we've maybe took one that wasn't as shiny and pretty out here, and maybe not, as creased up. And I think in this class, I think she has the most good, and I think if you evaluate every individual trait, she wins it pretty easy. For there, we're going to follow her up with the young men with the black headed and budded hog. A hog for me that I really, really appreciate for the length of front 1/3. I really appreciate the dimension and the expression of muscle. A hog that, yes, I would admit probably could use a little more body. This is probably a hog that if fed just a little bit harder even today with a little more fill would look a little bit better. But, a hog that fits second real easy in this class. The hog in third, you talk about a big-backed, big product type hog. But as the further we go in this deal, you can see she gets pretty uncoordinated. And really gets to where she doesn't want to move around this ring very well. But when just pure product standpoint, she fits in that third hole for me pretty easy. Again, these are market hogs. This is the end of the road for them. So for me, that's why she can go ahead and sit third. From there, fourth and fifth, just hogs that ran into some really, really quality hogs above them, but nice blue ribbon hogs in their own right.
Okay, so moving into our lightweight champion drive. So all pigs that were first in their classes to the ring. Seconds, be ready to enter the ring, but first place in the ring, please. So for those hogs returning to the ring for the lightweight drive, we have Haley Carroll, Cole Gasner, Noel Navarro, Ava Fredericks, Emma Shirk, Chevelle Boynton, and Marley Simlink to the ring. All second place out of the classes, please be ready to return to the ring. Remember, guys, if you're not trying to move a pig and not in a pig pen, please get out of the way.
All right, as we get our lightweight division out here to select your lightweight champion, one thing I kind of want to talk about just a minute is last week we were at our own county fair, and somebody complained to me. They said, man, the judge sounds like a broken record. Every class he talks the exact same thing. And I said, well, that's good, because at least then what he's picking should be consistent. And I think as we go through this champion drive, I think we had to do some give and takes. But I think there's a couple of hogs out here that absolutely deserve to be in this champion drive. And I think there's some hogs that, fell into the right class and got into the champion drive. But, with that said, there's one individual. I don't think there's any secret the way I talked to her in class. One individual that's going to win the lightweight deal pretty easy. Young lady right here with the gilt. For reserve, we're going to have to spend just a second with this second place out here. That's why I kept him in the ring. There was no doubt in my mind that we didn't even have to send that pig back for that go. So I want to get him out, or get that guild out here and evaluate her with her contemporaries, and we'll find your reserve champion. Again, for me, reserve champion gets a whole lot closer. I think there's some pigs in the running here, all with some give and takes. I think everybody might want to change one pig in here a little bit, here or there. Hogs that I really, really like. For me, it really comes down to two that I like an awful lot. It's going to be the young man's that was second in that last class to the champion, and then the young man here with the white shirt. And I think when you evaluate those two hogs, they are so similar in how they're put together. They are just built right. Hogs that get around the ring very, very well. Hogs that are big in their hip, big in their stifle. Hogs that you just really, really have to appreciate for a lot of good things. That said, it's going to come down to a personal preference for me. I'm going to use the young man in the white.
Okay, so congratulations to Marley Similink for our champion lightweight hog of the year, and we have Noel Navarro for reserve lightweight hog. So you two please prepare for tonight's Parade of Champions. You'll be back in the ring. All right. So as we get those lightweight pigs away, we're going to be moving into our medium weight division. But if we can give a ring of applause, a hand for all of our guys in the ring in the barn making this work. We need these guys' help. So it's been a calm morning this morning, but they're out there. So thank you guys so very much. All right. Moving into our medium weight class number, where are we at? Class 9. Reese Otter, Dashel Ferguson, Ian Keaton, David Romero, and Troy Patampa to the ring. On deck, Gunnar Gore, Thane Dixon, Kylie Boynton, Tegan Macy, and Alyssa Carroll.
Braden will come back out.
No, Braden already did.
Yeah,
Right,
he did.
Yeah, so they're on there. I'm saying so the medium weight we've done the same way. First place all in the ring. Second place four. First place, so like say class two is first place.
Since that one, first place won the ring.
All right, a very tough class for me to sort. Really the biggest thing for me is to try and find one of these to really tie into. They all bring different qualities to the table. The three that are left out here, I think, definitely sort themselves to the top. The question is, which way do you want to go when you get them out here? Not a hog that's perfect in any way out here, but I'm trying to find the most good, as well as keep in mind that this is a market show, and ultimately we're looking for the highest quality carcasses. With that being said, I think I've got two blue-blooded barrows that are going to sort themselves to the top. And from there, how you want to sort them. You've got a big, expressive top one here, right here in front of me, and then you've got one that's maybe a little bit plainer in his shape. But I think when you get right over the top of them, probably has more actual product and dimension of product than the one that is next to him. So for me, it just really comes down to a personal preference. I think, I think there's enough to this hog here in front of me, and I think with the expression and the look that he gives you, I think he's going to win my class. But it is a very close top two pair between this one and this one. From there, we just follow up with a black hog that does have a ton of product. I mean, this hog is just chock full of product. For me, a hog that gets a little forward in his knee and his shoulder and just doesn't move about this ring like we'd like him to. But, a nice hog in his own right. We're going to follow that up with the Berkshire appearing hog. You want to talk about one that's going to have great cutability, one that's going to eat really well. It's just tough to make a Berk, look like a show pig unless they're a really high-end Berk. And so when we get them out here, they just don't hold themselves up quite as well. But a really, really nice Berkshire, followed up with the young man's Hamp Gilt that just doesn't have enough power or mass to her today to get any higher in the class.
All right. So for our first class of middleweights, congratulations to Troy Patampa and Dashiell Ferguson. Troy and Dashiell, please be prepared for the midweight drive, okay? Moving into class 2 of our midweights. Gunnar Gore to the ring, Thane Dixon, Kylie Boynton, Tegan Macy, and Alyssa Carroll to the ring. On deck, Preston Madison, Case Anderson, Joel Taylor, Jay Silbernagel, and Taft Rice.
Really nice set of 3 barrows to start this class. And, I think there's one in here that for me sorts himself to the top, but I think there's 3 really nice individuals. I think there's 3 here that, in certain classes today probably win their class and maybe do so pretty easily. But, I think in this particular drive, you run into one that's just kind of a powerhouse when it comes to putting all the good together, all the things that I'm looking for as far as one that can get around the ring, one that's long strided, up fronted, with plenty of mass and power. I mean, these hogs, there isn't one in here that you're going to think, well, there isn't enough muscle there. So then it gets down to, I got to have some particulars that I like. And when I talk about particulars, it's going to be soundness, it's going to be ring appeal, and then it's going to be body and dimension. And I think when you study the young man's barrow that's going to win the class, when you study that big belted hog, that barrow to me has that body capacity to get over the hog that I'm going to use in second, which is the blue-butted hog. I think you don't take anything away from this blue-butted pig. Really nice in its own right. I just don't think it has the natural body and dimension that we see in the class winner. Maybe not quite as sound and functional on its front and rear legs, but more than acceptable in that as well. Get around the ring really well. We're going to follow it up with just an absolute powerhouse barrow in third. That sucker is a meat wagon. I mean, you want to talk about one that is going to have some cutability and one that's going to hang just a beautiful carcass, but just runs into a couple of show barrows that don't give up any power or mass and just gets outclassed in this particular drive. But a really nice barrow in his own right, and all 3 of these individuals should be very happy.
Okay, so congratulations to Gunnar Gore in first and Tegan Macy second in that class. So both of you please be ready to return to the midweight drive. So moving into our next class, we have Preston Madison, Case Anderson, Joel Taylor, Jace Silvernagel, and Taft Rice to the ring. And our next class on deck, Kaylee Macy, Rihanna Simmons, Emily Pineda, and Wyatt Flowers.
Wow, an unbelievably tough class to sort simply because you have pieces and parts on certain hogs that are actually hard to make. I mean, there's a couple of hogs in here that to make them the way they are is tough to do, and then you're giving up one glaringly big thing, and so it makes it just kind of a decision that I have to make as to which one I think is more right for today, for today's industry. And in my opinion, I'm probably giving up one of the key factors that I usually go with, and that is I'm going to go ahead and start with this black hog. And I will admit that hog does not get around the ring quite as well as the other two in here, but I think long enough in its stride. I think it is long enough. I think it's acceptable. I think when you actually study the angles, I don't think there's anything real messed up here. I think it's just maybe a little slower moving. You notice the young man lets it kind of move around the ring, and it keeps its head at about the right level, which tells you its skeleton's built about right. Sure, I would like to see her move out just a little bit quicker, and I'd like to see her move out with just a little bit longer stride. That being said, she is easily the biggest backed. She is the most powerful hog in this class. To me, she's the right size as far as moderation of frame. A hog that's absolutely perfect in her condition. I think that hog is fed absolutely perfect for today. I don't think you could change how that hog is presented today any better. I think the only thing you would want to do to that hog is maybe straighten that, or not straighten that shoulder out, but give that shoulder a little more flex and let her move out into the front end a little bit better. I think that would make her move across the pen a little smoother, but really a nice hog that I'm going to lead the class off with. Then I just get into the trouble hogs that, man, there's some parts in here that you absolutely love. Young man's hog here, you want to talk about one that is sound. That is a barrel that absolutely gets around the ring. He is long fronted. He is cool looking. Again, that's the hog that for me just gets really hard because he's hard ribbed. He's not round in his rib shape. He's really hard. He's really tucked up in his rib, which makes it very hard to feed. Doesn't let you put enough body into him. Doesn't quite get as fat as we'd like to have him, but you want to talk about one that is absolutely cool-fronted, sound-moving, a hog that you really, really like, and I'm going to go ahead and use him for second in the class for that reason. Third in the class, like I said, extremely tough decision. You want to talk about a big-boned hog. When you look at this hog as she's walking away from you, you look at those back legs. Those are monster big round pipes. I absolutely love that about her. For me, she's getting a little coarse and stale in her top. I'd like to freshen her up there. Maybe pick her up at the top of her shoulder. This is a hog that tends to want to run downhill a little bit for us, and that doesn't help her eye appeal out here, especially when you have a hog in second that does that for us. So three really nice pigs, give and take, but this hog in third, I think if you freshened her up or down her top and maybe just gave her again some more rib and turn to that rib, she could really, really do something in this class. But a hog that those two for me, just hogs that aren't quite made right from their center body, but really, really nice pieces and parts to those hogs. So they're going to sit second and third. As we move down the line, just some hogs that just gave up some natural look and appeal. Maybe not the power and mass that we have in some of these other hogs, but nice hogs in their own right. I think that's a straight blue class all the way through.
Okay, so congratulations to Joel Taylor and Taft Rice. Both of you be prepared to return for the midweight drive. All right. So as we're getting prepared for class 4, if we can, all the parents, if you look around, can we give ourselves a hand of applause for getting all these kids here and supporting them all? The last year's been rough, but it's really fun to see everybody here and kind of feeling a little bit normal. So, all right, class 4, and this is our last class for our middleweights. We need Kaylee Macy, Rihanna Simmons, Emily Pineda, and Wyatt Flowers to the ring. And then we'll be preparing for our midweight drive. So Troy Patampa, Gunnar Gore, Joel Taylor, be prepared to return to the ring. Dashiell Ferguson, Tegan Macy, and Taft Rice, be prepared to return if called as well.
All right, a class that sorts itself pretty easy for me. I think, the class winner for me just sorts itself real easy, and that's the young lady with the predominantly white barrel. A hog that is absolutely grooved up in his top shape, a hog that has the right center body and rib turn, a hog that when you really analyze him probably gets around the ring as well as anything in the class. So you have the soundest hog with probably the biggest back shape that we've seen all day long. So for me, an easy class winner here. From there, you just kind of got to find one to land on. There's 3 hogs left that are all different in their types and kinds. We're going to go ahead and go with the hog that gives us the most product, the most look, and the most balance to follow up. It's going to be this Hampshire Pairing Big Belted Barrow. You want talking about another meat wagon. I think that's when it comes down to it. We are judging market hogs, and we're talking about carcass, and that one there is going to hang an absolutely tremendous carcass. There is a lot of meat packed into that little pig. He is not the biggest frame thing out here, but you want to talk about one that is absolutely big-backed and big-ended. That's him. From there, you just got two hogs that just don't give the power and mass of the class winners, and probably not as sound and don't move about the ring quite as well. With that said, I think the blue-butted spotted hog falls into third pretty easy, followed up with the Hampa barrel on the far end.
Okay, congratulations to Rihanna Simmons and Kaylee Macy for that class. So coming into the ring for our midweight champion drive, we need Troy Patampa, Gunnar Gore, Joel Taylor, and Rihanna Simmons back to the ring, please.
All right, a lot like in our lightweight division, I think in the middleweights there was one that hit me pretty hard, one that I can tie into because he's as big-backed and big-ended as any. He's as sound as any. He's as cool-fronted, and he looks like a show barrow. It's going to be the young man here in the blue shirt. We're going to bring out the second to that class and just evaluate him a little bit closer and try and find our reserve.
So, Tegan Macy to the ring, please.
Yeah, I took just a little bit more time on this to really figure out what I want to do in second, and we took a little time to get this hog to the ring, and to be honest with you, I wish I could have not been so enamored on the other pig when he came in the class, because I kind of forgot what was following him up, and to be honest with you, I could have saved us some time, because that's a nice pig in its own right. But to me, it comes down to two that are left in here. It's going to be the young man's black hog and this white hog, and I think we talked to him plenty in class. There's some give and take on these two. If I could lengthen that stride out on that black gilt and make her just reach a little further on that front end, I think that would be the key to making that one drive out and look just that much better. I think if we could do that, that hog is awfully, awfully special. When we analyze the white hog, I think he puts together a lot of really nice parts. I think if you were to change his rear wheel structure just ever so slightly, I think that one could be big time. I think you might even want to clean that one up in his jowl a little bit. We talked about that black hog being absolutely perfect as far as condition and feeding. The white hog, I might want to clean him up just a little bit, but I think when it boils down to it, for me, it's got to be the comfort around the ring, and so for that reason, we're going to use that white barrow to be reserved.
Okay, so big congratulations to Gunnar Gore as your champion midweight and Rihanna Simmons as your reserve champion midweight hog. Okay, we are moving into our heavyweights class. So to the ring, heavyweight class, Nathaniel Wilson, Cadence Miller, Reed Similake, Drew Boyle. On deck, Max Dixon, Reagan McCabe, Jake Gasner, and Riley McCabe.
a very intriguing and harder class for me to sort. I think there's two individuals that get to the top of the class pretty easy, but then the question is, what do you do with them? And for me, it just comes down to this is ultimately a market hog show. So at this particular juncture, we're just going to sort them, the top two anyways, by what I think is going to be the best carcass. It's going to be the hog that's going to hang the most amount of meat, the hog that's going to have the highest quality and the most cutability. And from there, I've talked soundness a lot, and I think this hog is sound enough. I would absolutely love to change the angle of the shoulder on this barrel, but we're going to win the class with the young lady's hamp barrel on the wall there. And I will be the first to admit I'd like to see this barrel stride out, and I'd like to see him a little bit different in that front end angle. I'd like to see a lot more angle to that shoulder, have him reach out a little bit farther. But really, when we compare it to the young man's gilt that's going to be second here, I think that's what separates them, is just top shape, mass, cutability. I think this gilt, when she first walked in, she's super attractive, super sound. I think I fell a little bit in love with her, and then the more I started analyzing her, she's deep-bodied, but I'd sure like to spread her across the top. I'd like to give her more turn to that rib. I'd like to see just a little more natural depth or dimension to her top, which you'll get by that spring of rib. So I think just a hog that just gets a little bit plainer in her rib shape, but super deep-bodied, super sound gilt that's really pretty attractive from the side, just gives up a lot of cutability and dimension, and a lot of that has to do with the rib shape she starts with. So two really quality individuals to win the class with some give and take pieces. We're going to follow it up with third place is going to be this black hog here. When it just comes to true cutability, that's going to separate those two at the bottom. And then the fourth place hog down there, still blue ribbon hog, just a hog that gives up the dimension and the expression of muscle, sound enough as it gets around the ring. You got to appreciate that about it.
Okay, so congratulations to Cadence Miller and Drew Boyle for our first class of heavyweights. Second class of heavyweights to the ring, Max Dixon, Reagan McCabe, Jake Gasner, and Riley McCabe.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous class as we round out the day, and I think, you know, at least I hope that I've kind of kept with some hogs that you can kind of follow what I like, and you know, hopefully, you know, that you've kind of understood what I'm looking for first and foremost. And you know, having said that, I think you know, there's always going to be people outside that kind of question whether I did things right in a particular class or that sort of thing. But I think, you know, in this particular class, I think if you disagree, my feeling is you're wrong. I think this blue barrel wins it, and he wins it hands down. That is a barrel that is absolutely a creature as far as how he's put together. That is a sound, big-boned, beautiful animal that walks around this ring like he's a show barrel. That being said, is he the absolute powerhouse of the deal? I don't believe so, but I think if you put him side by side, I don't think he gives up a whole lot either. That is an absolute creature when he walks around here. When we get hogs this big, we really want to keep their structure underneath them. And that hog, as you watch him float around the ring, that is one that is absolutely sound as can be. He keeps that head up. That spine is built right. That is an absolute creature that we really, really appreciate in a big heavyweight class. From there, it gets a little tougher for me, but I do like this young man's mostly or big belted barrel right here. I think that is an absolute powerhouse. I think that one fits second for me really well. I think that is a hog that, you know, is maybe getting on that a little bit past where we want him as far as his top shape. I think if we freshen that one up just a little bit and maybe just lengthen that front 1/3 out on that one, it could give a run at that blue barrel. But you know, two absolute creatures to win the top two in this class, and I think you know, two barrels that really represent what we've tried to do all day. From there, we're going to go third with the young lady's broken belted barrel. You know, a really nice pig in his own right. You know, when she gets his head up and gets him drove, a super attractive barrel, one that just gives up some mass and overall power to the ones that beat him. When you study him from the ground, he doesn't have near the bone and feature that the two class winners do. We'll follow that up with the spot barrel. You know, nice animal in his own right, just ran into some absolute powerhouses.
Okay, so congratulations to Reagan McCabe as first and Jake Gasner in second for this class. So you two can remain here as we go into our heavyweight drive. So coming into our heavyweight championship drive, we have Cadence Miller, Drew Boyle, Reagan McCabe, and Jake Gasner.
All right, they made it pretty easy on me, only having two classes of heavies, and you know, I think I don't think there's any secret. I'm not a great poker player. I'll tell you when there's one that I really like, and I think that's pretty easy for me. I'm going to use the Blue Barrel to be your champion heavyweight. I think he does it really easy, and in the other class winner, I even told you we had some pieces and parts. So that being said, we're going to follow him up with the second one from that heavy class to be your reserve champion heavy.
Okay, so your heavyweight champion is Reagan McCabe. Your reserve is Jake Gasner. So congratulations, you guys. Okay, so that concludes our market show for today, but we are moving into our feeder program. So please don't leave. We've got some kids moving into the ring. We're going to start out with our 4-H feeders. Then we'll do FFA feeders. Then we'll go back into 4-H breeding and then FFA breeding. So we'll get our 4-H breeders to the feeders to the ring. Brooke Clarkson, Timber Tishner, Sarah Taylor, Hunter Tishner, Courtney McCarthren, Daniel Rosales, and Santos Navarro. As those pigs make way to the ring tonight, you guys, at 7 p.m. here at the Swine Barn is our Parade of Champions. So they will be bringing the champion and reserve champion back for each of those weight classes to compete and get our grand champion market swine. So please come here at 7 to support those kids and see the final outcome for today's Market Pigs show.
All right, a real challenging class. Not, I mean, for two reasons. Number one, because of the pigs kind of are hard to sort because there's so many differences. But secondly, because in a feeder class, you're having to try and project a little bit and try and decide, okay, which one of these is in the end going to be the better one, because we've already decided they're not at a marketable weight. So one of the key factors that's going to sort these is which ones can get there, still be sound, and be at a weight that we're ready to put them on the butcher floor. So that being said, I think there's one individual out here that's put together. It's most like the hogs we were using all day. For me, she's a gilt that gets around this ring very, very sound. I think she's the one that's probably as loose in her spine as anything. I think the other key factor to this gilt for me is that she's not totally ripped up, because if we get those pigs with too much muscle and too much expression early in life, I think we end up with hogs that just don't have a lot of grow in them. They don't get there, and I think that's part of the problem with these folks' projects. So we're going to go ahead and start with this young lady's gilt right here to win the class. I think one that is super, super pretty. I think she gets around the ring really, really nice. I think there's a lot to like about that gilt. If I were to change her at all, I would want to give her a little more center body, a little more turn to that rib, and that would probably help her have gotten a little more groceries and gotten to that weight that we needed her to. But I think when we take her home and we put all these back on feed and try and get them to 250 pounds, I think she still does that pretty easy and pretty comfortably in a very comfortable schedule or structure. Having said that, I'm going to follow that up with a barrow, the black barrow over there. I think he's the next loosest structured one in the class. I think he's got a chance to get there and be just fine. My hesitation with him is he's already starting to get a little greasy, and I'm not sure exactly what weight he came in at. I'm not sure that pig ever gets to 260, but I think we can get him 245, 250 pretty easy. From there, it just becomes a whole bunch of hogs going down that, to me, are a little bit tight, not only in their muscle structure and their skeleton, but also in how they get around the ring. I think we have some structure problems, which typically will correlate to hogs that don't want to go eat, they don't want to grow, which when in a feeder class, that's what we're going to run into. That being said, of the two that are left out here, to me, I've got a gilt that gets around the ring just a little bit better than the barrow. So she's going to be third. The barrow's going to be fourth. Fifth and sixth are in the pens, and it's going to be exactly the same concept all the way through. These are hogs that just don't walk as well. They don't get around the ring as well, and they're going to have a tougher time getting to that 250 pounds that we need them to put them on to the butcher.
All right, congratulations to Sarah Taylor and Brooke Clarkson for our feeders for 4-H. Okay, so we have one more feeder, which is our FFA feeder. So, Courtney McCarthren to the ring, please.
All right, I might have lied earlier when I said that you couldn't argue with me, because this one you really can't argue with me. This one's going to win the class. Blue Ribbon Hog, I think, again, I think this is a hog that structure-wise could be put together just a little bit smoother. Get the angles right, both in the hock and that shoulder to help that hog stride out, which is ultimately what we're trying to do in these market hogs, is make them sound enough to get to the feeder. This one may struggle, especially on a slatted floor. Therefore, we gotta work on that to get this hog, where he's ideal and gets that market weight. But tremendous job by the young lady of presenting a nice animal that in a few weeks is probably ready to go to the butcher.
Congratulations, Courtney. Okay, so moving into our 4-H breeding program, we're going to bring all three 4-H breeders to the ring. So Brianne Ellis with her February gilt, Daniel Rosales with his February gilt, and then Jaden Unruh with her January gilt. Yeah. And then, is Danielle coming back? Daniel?
All right, so it looks like we only have 3 entries in our breeding show, and obviously all crossbred gilts, and we have 2 Februaries and a January by the sounds of things, and so in the February class, it's just you got the two black belted hogs, and for me, you just have a hog that is up here with the big belted hog. I think a hog that wins the class pretty easy. For me, just better in its underlying quality. I like the vulva set. A hog that gets out and moves a little bit better across the ring when compared to the hog, the smaller belted hog. When it comes to Champion Reserve, I think it gets pretty easy for me to gravitate towards the blue hog to be your champion gilt. I think that's a hog that is just exceptional in her build. She's the most comfortable in her structure, probably the most right in her rib shape. Just a hog that's got a lot of good pieces, and more than anything, these kids are out here with a breeding project, which is real important, so I think we should give them a hand.
Okay, so congratulations, Jaden, for your champion female breeding project, and then Brianne with your first place February gilt, and then David the second. Here you go, buddy. Okay, so we are moving into FFA breeding, and then we are done.
For FFA swine breeding, our first class is our January born commercial gilt with Miss Tegan Macy and Taft Rice. And make your way to the ring. On deck is our February commercial gilts with Cadence Miller and Taft Rice. Rice on deck.
Hey, Wilmer. Cadence doesn't know which one's coming in.
Okay, so Cadence has whoever her January is. One's a January, one's a February, so whatever she's got.
So right now, to bring her January,
Yeah, so
that's her fur.
okay, so she has to bring her commercial February. Okay, bring her commercial February.
For commercial February? We have one more. Could you go into I don't know.
Commercial.
All right, in your January gilt class for your FFA breeding division, you know it's going to be a give and take deal here. Obviously, you can look at these two and understand there's some differences in types and kinds. For me, it's going to kind of follow what we talked about in the market division, except for me it's even more important that we have some body and some rib shape in these hogs, because these ones need to be able to eat and lay down and have pigs, and the only way a sow can raise a good litter of pigs is she has to eat. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the blue gilt. I think she's just got way more body capacity. She's got more rib, more turn to the rib, she's deeper bodied. She's sound enough as she gets about the ring. I think that's where, you know, probably the hog in second, the gilt in second. I think you have to really appreciate how she gets about the ring. You really have to like her cool, clean front end. She's elevated at the top of her shoulder. Just a hog for me that when we study the dimension and the turn to her rib, I just have to question how well she'll be able to eat and lay down and have pigs and raise those pigs like we need her to. But two really nice gilts to start the class.
Do you want him to pin his?
Hey, Taft, go ahead and pin yours.
So our next class is February.
Our next class is February commercial gilts with Cadence Miller and Taft Rice. And on deck is Cadence Miller with her April-born gilt.
Hey Alexis, this is for the next class. Whatever he decides.
Two nice individuals here in our February class of crossbreds. I think for me, I'm going to land on the belted gilt. I think she handles her hind wheels so much better than the gilt in second, and I think she's so much cooler through her front end. Just an absolutely beautiful design hog, a hog that if we were to change her at all, we would like to get a little more spread to that rib, pull that cage apart just a bit, but a really nice hog. For me, a hog in second that's got some pieces and parts. I'd sure like to change that front end structure. She also gets a little steep in her hip, which causes her to handle that hind leg a little funny, but two nice hogs to be in your February class.
Congratulations, Taft Rice. And next up, we have our April-born gilt with Miss Cadence Miller. On deck is our two purebred classes with Emma Shriek and Cadence Miller.
Yeah, just a nice little April gilt here for the breeding class. And, you know, a couple of things I'd like to point out is, number one, this young lady has this thing whip broke already, which is absolutely incredible. That's a tough thing to do with these little tiny pigs like this, and she's done a really nice job of getting a pig that'll come out here and drive. And, you know, the other thing I'd like everybody that may not be as involved in this as they'd like to be, or maybe they're sitting around ringside wondering what's going on here. And, you know, one thing to keep in mind is that these market animals that these kids showed, you know, not much bigger than this is probably when they had to select them. So, you know, that's a tough thing to do and evaluate hogs at this size and this age. But I think this young lady brought you a really nice hog. This gilt's, you know, an April hog in a July show, so we're only 90 days in. Structure looks right. She's level. She's nice. Good fronted hog that looks like she can grow up to be a pretty nice female. So congratulations.
Next up is our purebred classes with Cadence Miller and Emma Shriek.
Yes? Okay. We can do that.
Okay, next we're going to do our champion crossbred class, so go ahead and...
No. Cadence, not yet. Good girl. Good girl. Ow. Okay, I'll let you back out.
as we bring our class winners back for the champion crossbred gilt, you know, for me, there's one that I feel like there's some parts and pieces that are a little bit harder to make and hog that I feel like we can take home, and we can look through the boar stud catalogs and we can find some semen to put in her that will make an awfully competitive crossbred gilt or barrow to show next year at next year's fair, which, you know, typically that's what we're looking for in these breeding projects, is to, you know, ultimately be able to raise one that we feel is good enough to bring ourselves. And the one with those unique pieces is going to be the young man's February gilt. I think that one's pretty special. The way her front end is constructed is pretty tough to do. She does that with staying extremely sound. Yeah, she could use a little more capacity and a little more top shape, but we can find one of them big massive boars that can do that for her pretty easy. From there, for reserve, it gets a little tougher. I thought we had a second, right? It's good. It doesn't need to come out anyways. For reserve, it gets a little tougher. With the blue gilt, for me, a hog that's probably a little more common in her type and kind. One that I'd sure like to make her more elevated at the point of her shoulder, make her run uphill a little bit more. And then the little hog, you're having to predict an awful lot of future into her. But I think if you study that little hog and you talk about soundness, you talk about turn to rib cage, you talk about a front end that's constructed right, I think she fits into your reserve champion very nicely. We're going to use the April gilt to be reserve.
Next up is our purebred class with Cadence Miller and Emma Shirk.
Is this the last one?
So we have two entries in our purebred division. So they're obviously both class winners. They're both breed champions, but we're going to go ahead and sort these two to champion and reserve purebred and show them against the crosses, I believe, for a supreme overall. So that being said, I think you got some pieces and parts to these gilts, and obviously two entirely different breeds. For me, I'm going to land on the Duroc to be your champion gilt. I think she's probably the soundest, easiest moving animal we've got in the ring right now. I think she's got a lot of parts that we like about her. If I were to change her, I'd sure like to maybe level that hip out just a little bit on her and maybe pick her up at the top of her shoulder. But you know, a real nice red individual to be your champion purebred. Reserve champion purebred, this Burt gilt. When she gets out and moves, she does fine. She tends to just get a little bit uncoordinated with those rear wheels and how she handles them. But when we get her out and we get her moving, she's a hog that brings a lot of good to the table. When we're talking about breeding purebreds, obviously the kids go home and breed them. They have to decide whether they're going to stick with the purebred side of it or try and make crossbreds out of them. And for that reason, this Burt gilt, I think she gets a little bit one-dimensional for me, in that we probably have to stick with the purebred side of it. I think there's enough good market carcass quality in that Duroc that we can start breeding some crossbreds out of her if we want.
Will the champion and reserve champion crossbred please return to the ring?
Let's go this way and say it one more time.
Will the champion and reserve champion crossbreds please return to the ring?
They say they can't hear now.
Unreal also or no? What? Jaden? No, these are just FFA.
As we get our champion crossbred and champion Duroc back out here, our champion purebred, I think, we're more than anything, I think these kids that are trying to do a breeding project and trying to raise their own animals, I think that's the real key. So I want to give them a hand real quick. That being said, for me, there's one individual I kind of talked about that has some pieces and parts that I find awfully intriguing. Your supreme champion gilt is going to be the crossbred gilt. Real competitive for your reserve champion. I think you've got a pretty nice Duroc gilt to win the purebred show, and then I like an awful lot of things about this little crossbred gilt, but there's an awful lot of future has to be read into her as well. And at this point in time, I'm gonna say the Duroc's gonna be our reserve overall. Just I know what I've got here, and I'm having to project a little too much on the little gilt.
All right, you guys, we are done for today. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you so much for being here for our market show. And we'll see you guys all tomorrow again at 8:30 for showmanship.